Namaste everyone. On this holy occasion of World Ayurveda Day, I pray at the holy feet of Lord Dhanvantari so that we all have robust health with strong immunity and mental strength to fight this COVID-19 situation and all our future physical and mental problems that we may face. So I am Dr. Janardana V. Hebbar. I am the founder of easyayurveda.com. As first part of this presentation, let me briefly tell you about what we are doing and what we want to achieve with our ventures. And this is Ayurveda Health and Ayurveda Education website. We deal with home remedies, herbs, core principles of Ayurveda and whatnot. So through this venture, we have published more than 2,500 articles on various topics related with Ayurveda. And we have another website called ayurmedinfo.com. So through this website, we try to educate public regarding various herbal formulations, Ayurvedic products, what are their probable side effects, what are their ingredients, what to expect when a client takes such an Ayurvedic supplement and whatnot. So we have through easyayurveda.com and ayurmedinfo.com combined, we are reaching up to somewhere between 500,000 to 750,000 people every month. So apart from this, we have published ebooks in simple PDF format. So we have published more than 10 ebooks in PDF format, and we also have published 3 books in hard copy and Kindle format. And apart from that, we also produce a lot of video courses so that public can be educated with the core principles of Ayurveda in simple English. Next, we have weekly online classes wherein we take one particular Ayurvedic topic and dig deep, and we also provide the video along with the notes to all the participants. Next, we have YouTube video channels in 4 languages: English, Hindi, Kannada and Malayalam. We are making videos on general topics of public interest, reach the masses through these online platforms and ventures. Apart from this, we have tied up with a very good Ayurveda Institute and hospital here in Mangalore, in Karnataka, India, called Sharda Ayurveda Hospital, wherein we bring in international Ayurvedic students and practitioners and train them practically with various case presentations and patient direct consultation exposures. So we assist Ayurvedic students worldwide to have a very high quality internship here in India under our direct guidance. So far we started this venture just last year, and within 1 year we trained more than 40 Ayurvedic students worldwide. And in coming months, we are going to partner with many more Ayurvedic institutes so that more and more Ayurveda students get practical direct knowledge of Ayurveda directly from us here in Mangalore, Karnataka, India. And apart from this, as part of academic activities, we collaborate and partner with like-minded academic centers of Ayurveda like Delight Academy, Amsterdam, Netherlands, then Kerala Ayurveda Academy, California, USA, Mount Medina Institute, California, USA, Narayana Ayurveda Institute, Ananda Ayurveda Academy, and so on and so forth. So we are totally into educating the public with the basic principles of Ayurveda and making Ayurveda accessible to everyone. And we are also into academic field wherein we act as a behind the curtain partners so that we enable the teachers of Ayurveda with better tools and better Ayurvedic knowledge. So let me speak about my vision for Ayurveda 2030. My first in the wish list for Ayurveda 2030 is to separate spiritual Ayurveda from healthcare Ayurveda. Now, Please do not misunderstand me with this sentence. I value both spiritual Ayurveda and healthcare Ayurveda equally. But the paths that an Ayurveda practitioner takes when it comes to spiritual and healthcare Ayurveda are entirely different. If you want to heal a person through spiritual measures or uplift a person through spiritual ways, you yourself have to be in the path of deep and true spirituality with abstinence, truthfulness, devotion, etc. So these qualities are very much important and they should be totally imbibed in you. Or else it will become just an exercise that Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa used to say, that a blind leading another blind person. So unless you are truly spiritual, you cannot lead any other person in the path of spirituality. So I urge all Ayurveda students and practitioners to have a clear differentiation between true spirituality and other allied subjects such as astrology, future guessing, palmistry, looking into face or hand and diagnosing the disease instantly, etc. True spirituality leads us to complete mental peace and calmness, whereas other magical remedies can lead us in a path of seeking name and fame, greed, etc. You guess the disease correctly in one person by just looking into the face, and someone appreciates you and you become egoistic and more money minded and whatnot. So I'm not saying that astrology, palmistry, etc. are bad. I'm just saying that there is a higher plane above it which is called as spirituality. So I do not want Ayurveda to be seen as a magical, future guessing, indescribable, unquantifiable and vague health science. But I want Ayurveda to develop as a health science in which the protocols are uniform, in which results can be measured, in which the health forecast, diagnosis, treatment planning, etc. are made purely by following uniform, scientific, reproducible methodologies. So the way in which I diagnose a patient with jwara or fever should be same as you would diagnose your patient with jwara. I want Ayurveda to be developed in that scientific plane. Second thing that I hope fruitions within next few years is more deep research in the field of Ayurveda. The modern medical scientists have started running away with research in longevity and healthcare fields. Some of these scientists take an Ayurveda or yoga concept, spin it in their own way, rename our pranayamas as some rhythmic breathing pattern exercise, attach a research study to it, and sell it and market it in entirely different way. And we Ayurveda yoga people are left just blinking. Many of the modern medicinal chemicals are derived from plants. For example, resveratrol chemical, which is found in grapes, has become one of the leading research chemical which increases NAD plus levels within the cells, which in turn helps in delaying or reversing the aging process. So resveratrol is one of the leading chemicals that is being studied for the purpose of anti-aging treatments. But we have grapes mentioned in Ayurveda. In fact, it is told Draksha Phalottama. That means of all the fruits, grapes are number one. So another compound, berberine, is found in our Ayurvedic herb called Berberis aristata. It is found that berberine can lower blood sugar levels, improve cholesterol, triglyceride levels, reduce testosterone levels, and lower waist to hip ratio in women, etc. But Ayurveda has been using this Berberis aristata or Daruharidra since thousands of years already. Next is aspirin. A famous medicine is modeled after the naturally occurring polyphenol salicylic acid, a compound which is found in an herb called Salix alba. Quinine, another alkaloid taken from Cinchona calisaya, is used for the treatment of malaria. So these are just a few examples. While the modern science goes after individual chemicals, Ayurveda has long advocated taking the extract in common mediums such as water soluble extractive in water medium, as in case of kashaya, cold infusion, hot infusion, etc. Next is fat soluble extractive, as in case of herbal ghees, oils, etc. Next is volatile principles, as in case of crude, powder of herbs. Next is alcohol soluble extractive, as in case of our fermented products such as asava, arista, and so on. So a medicinal herb is a combination of a variety of chemicals in them. The herb yields the therapeutic benefit from the synergistic action of these chemicals. Hence, equating the value of turmeric only to curcumin, which is just only one of the many compounds that this magical turmeric contains, or equating the value of licorice to only glycyrrhizin or glyceric acid is very wrong. If everything about the plant has to be equated to only a few chemicals that it contains, then there was no need to eat the fruits and vegetables in our daily diet as such. We could have just eaten the extracted plant chemicals for our meals and we could have been healthy. But it is not the case. So what I am trying to insist is that Ayurvedic concept of extracting these chemicals in a group still has lot of value to offer even in this modern era as well. I want Ayurveda to adopt more and more scientific approaches and scientific clinical studies in these fields so that we can speak about it with great confidence. So Ayurveda has a lot to offer in this regard, but for the world to take Ayurveda seriously, it has to adopt more scientific methodologies. In the coming years, I hope that Ayurveda attracts more and more research students, scientists into this field who would perform authentic clinical and animal experimental studies, keeping the core principles of Ayurveda as a strong foundation. Third thing that I hope materializes by 2030 is to remove the taboo of Ayurveda as money-making business. So let me clarify. One accusation that I always get from many people is that, Dr. Hebbar, you're trying to make money out of this sacred knowledge of Ayurveda. For that, my reply would be, of course, I want to make money with Ayurveda, no doubt. So nobody accuses Elon Musk that he is making money out of solar energy or electrical cars, out of electricity and all. When that is the case, why should I be accused of making money with Ayurveda? It is my livelihood. And believe me, earning money is a very, very good thing to do. So that's why we have our dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha explained as the four core steps that we have to follow to achieve salvation. So first we have to follow the dharma, that is path of righteousness. Then we have to follow artha, that means to earn money, and then kama, fulfill our desires. Then comes the salvation and whatnot. So I want the budding Ayurveda practitioners and students to come up with many commercially viable ways to survive just with Ayurveda. For example, I want many Ayurveda students and practitioners to take up different career paths. So some of you, I want to become nutrition therapists, some should become cosmetologists, some should become hair care expert, some should be making ghees, someone can come up with herbal hair oils, someone can come up with a variety of massage oils, some of you should become good Ayurveda speakers, bloggers, YouTube video champions and whatnot. So this way, more and more Ayurveda products are launched in the market, and it gives a chance for a common man to try Ayurveda and experience its benefits firsthand through these Ayurvedic products and services. So this also gives a chance for the Ayurveda person to make a living out of it. So think about Ayurvedic skincare, or even as common as Ayurvedic saloon or Ayurvedic beauty parlor. So these are all various different career paths that many different people should pursue, so that Ayurveda is served to the common public in a variety of flavors. So these three are my wishes that I hope and pray will materialize by the time we hit 2030. I deeply appreciate all Western Ayurveda student and practitioners community who are pursuing Ayurveda even in these financially difficult COVID-19 times. We have a golden opportunity where everyone is looking into their immunity, their food, their sleep habits, their physical habits, their mental habits, etc. And Ayurveda surely has a strong role to play in all these aspects. It is upon us to teach to the world how everyone can have robust physical and mental health with the help of Ayurveda. I hope we all succeed in this mission. My best wishes to you all. Namaste.